Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge Podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Childcare Bridge. Today's topic is going to be the first in a four-part series that answers one specific overarching question. One question that I get asked more times than not, and there are slight variations to how the question gets asked. But at the end of the day, the area that most childcare center owners are looking to tackle, looking to solve, is how do I move from being the owner-operator, the stand-in director at many times, or even the active director, to being the CEO? How do I go from having that childcare business that is literally running me, and more likely than not running me into the ground, to, on the other side of reality, having a business that is providing lots of cash for you and your family, lots of impact for the families you're serving, to the community, to your team, lots of freedom, creating legacies? Like, how do you go from chaos to the promised land? Like, how do you get that way? Like, what do you have to do? What are the tactical steps? What are the pivots? What are the switches that you need to make? What do you need to start, stop? And again, there's probably 100 variations to how I've been asked this. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to unpack one of the four. And what I've found in working with not only thousands of childcare centers, but thousands, and probably actually at this point, tens of thousands of businesses in all different niches, is that there are four areas that need to be mastered. And they need to go in a methodical order. And as that order kind of checks off, so box number one is checked off, then you can move on to the next one and the next one. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have to tackle a few things in one of the other boxes from time to time, or even potentially at the same time. But until you've mastered the first one, you cannot move to the second. Master the first, then move to the second. So here they are: marketing, money, manpower, methodologies. What does that mean? So when you look at everything across your center, all the different things are going to fall into one of those buckets, but they all start with marketing. Well, how do you figure that? Because we've got staff and we need processes and licensing and teachers and systems, and I need to have cash flow and all of that stuff. How does it start with marketing? And here's what I have found. If you do not have the cash, if you do not have the cash flow coming, if you don't have some opportunities that are very close, you risk going out of business. Now, I have studied small business failure. That was my master's dissertation, and I have restarted a book that I started when I was writing the dissertation about this exact topic. And the hypothesis before I did the dissertation, and I interviewed, I think it was like 119, that was an odd number, over 100 different businesses, and they all had to hit certain criteria. So they had to hit $1 million in sales, which is arguably one of the hardest things to do. And then they had to check a couple of other boxes. Like, it couldn't be a public company. Like, I wasn't interviewing Bed Bath & Beyond, for example, who just filed for bankruptcy recently. So they fit into these boxes of kind of small biz, or the definition of a small biz. And I started looking at it and unpacking things. And the hypothesis before I went into this was that if they had invested more money in marketing, if they had focused more on marketing, they would have not went out of business. And I didn't want to lead people down that path, so I had to make sure that all the questions that were being asked were, what's the phrase, like scientifically vetted. I don't remember the exact phrase, but like they had to be questions that were not leading questions like, hey, do you think if you did more marketing, you wouldn't have closed your business? Like, it's kind of a leading question. So they had to be very methodical, probably is the right word, so that there wasn't any bias. There's the magic phrase. No bias. I might have been biased in walking in, but I asked the exact same questions with the exact same tonality in every interview. And what I had found was most of the businesses were massively underinvesting in marketing, and many of them invested little to no money in marketing at all. So the story would go something like this. Accidental entrepreneur decided to start the business as, let's say, a bakery. One of them was a bakery. And started having all these customers. You put up a sign, you got a bunch of people, and then this happened, and then that happened. And then 3 years later, $500,000 in debt, had to close the doors. And those stories were very, very similar to whether they were brick and mortar, they were online businesses, service-based, like all different kinds of businesses. But when I really analyzed them and looked at the data and the numbers, the average amount of marketing that they were investing in terms of as a percentage of sales was less than 2%. In many of these startups, so like the first year or two, they invested zero in marketing. And when then you start to kind of forecast out and you look at it, the reason that they ultimately typically will close their doors is because they run out of cash, or they make a decision that they're just not going to keep investing money in, but I can't afford to throw any more money in. So if you unpack that and you think of it logically, if they had more customers, and I'm making some assumptions here, but customers coming through the door, buying your product or service, could that have created more opportunities? And the answer is yes. Now you could argue and say, well, Michael, what if they weren't profitable sales and the product was costing too much? There's a lot of other steps to this. But that's why we're starting with marketing. If you don't have enough enrollments coming in, if you don't have a predictable process, you're going to be in this really tough spot. You're going to be continuing to kind of cycle and cycle and cycle. You're going to keep staying on that hamster wheel. You're going to always experience the highs of fall enrollment, the lows at summertime if you don't properly execute summer camp or have a summer camp or other options during the summer. So then all of a sudden your cash flow spikes and then it nosedives and then you're back into scramble mode. You don't have a predictable way to get your wait list up so that if you want to add more locations, which is most of the centers that we work with, they don't want one location. They want 5, 10, 15, 20. They want a franchise. They want a license. They want to build that business. They want to build that legacy. They want the family name. They want their teachings. They want whatever they have decided to pour into it to outlive them. And there's a difference between growing a business and having a business that actually succeeds, thrives, and stands the test of time. And I call that a no-joke business, a business that has a moat around it. The moat is the secret sauce. It makes you kind of impenetrable. There could be 10 other centers that open within X amount of miles to you, but you've built this moat. You've built this moat, you're following a operating system, and you're executing and hitting those singles every single day. So if I bring it back into today, and you look at, okay, great. So Michael, I want to move out of the chaos. I want to build what you call a no-joke business. I want to build a center that doesn't run me. I want to run it. What's step one? Step one is we need to get your marketing firing on all cylinders. And what that means is that we need to gain a little bit of momentum. Now, there's a laundry list of things that you need to do from a marketing standpoint. You need a great website. You need follow-up systems, customer relationship management tool, phone scripts, text message follow-up, ways to generate referrals electronically. Like, there's a lot of stuff that falls into the marketing basket. But in an effort to have you gain some momentum, you need to start with marketing. And before you even start to dive into the couple things I'm going to have you do in today's episode, there is a core mindset shift that you need to make. And I can tell you this is going to be harder than you actually deploying the things that I'm going to teach you. I have conversations all day, every day with childcare center owners, every single day. It's going on 10 plus years. And I can tell you that I've never met a center that is investing the right amount of money in marketing. And fast forward, I'll give you the answer to that one. It's typically 8 to 12% of your sales. So if you're projecting to do $1 million, you can do the math. $80,000 to $120,000 a year should be invested in marketing. Now, the next episode is going to be about finance. So if you're like, well, Michael, that's my entire profit, or I didn't even take a salary, so where's that going to come from? I don't want you to get in your head yet. We're going to talk about that next week, And I'm going to give you a few of the other episodes that I've already done on this podcast to help you solve that. The fastest way to solve that is your tuition. I've also never met a center that is charging enough. Ever. They just don't value what they're doing enough to charge what you need to pay your team well, to take a salary for yourself, to make a profit so your business thrives, not just barely gets by. It's the tuition. So that's that little sidebar. But the marketing piece that you need to get through your head is that this has to be seen as an investment. If you look at everything that I'm going to tell you as a cost, where's that going to come from? How do I grab that? How do I afford that? You're never going to make it. If you think that investing $100 a month in a tool to manage and track all of your leads is expensive, you might as well close your center right now. It doesn't make sense. But I can tell you that conversation after conversation after conversation that I have, it's, oh my gosh, that's too expensive. I can't afford to do that. That's a big expense. Like, hey, let's invest a few $1,000s in getting some amazing video. Nope, can't do it. You need to look at this as an investment. If you know that marketing is going to drive everything, marketing is going to create the opportunities that allow you to hire better team members, to pay your team more, to have fun outings and surprises and gifts for your team, because you can afford to do that. That's going to allow you to hire assistant directors or hire an assistant for you, even if they're someone overseas, for example, that's taking things off your plate. Marketing is going to allow you to hire people personally that can take things off your plate that you don't want to do. Mowing the lawn, groceries from Instacart, just random things that free up your time so that you can be in flow and doing what you love to do, what you enjoy, and the things that are most valuable to your business and to your personal life. If you do not have enough enrollments, if you do not have the system, the processes to get those enrollments on a regular basis, you are sunk. There is too much top-level expense at this business for you to not have your marketing firing on all cylinders. There was a center that closed doors literally 3 minutes from my house. And I believe they're moving to a new location. I don't have the full story, but a spot opened up, which is 8,500 square feet. And I called and just wanted to inquire what's the lease? What's the price? And I'll give you the range, but it was somewhere between like $16,000 and $20,000 per month, not including utilities. And it was interesting because the agent knew that was on the very, very high side. Wouldn't tell me what the current tenant was paying, or previous tenant rather, which I think was probably about half of that. But if you think about that number, and if you think about someone wanting to get into this game, where is that cash going to magically come from if you don't have enrollments from day one? So if I were to go and grab that space, and obviously my background is marketing, so I have great confidence in filling it, but it's not going to happen overnight. So these centers that opening up new locations with 3 enrollments and doing no marketing, and then in 6 months they wonder why they're dead broke. So let's round up and say it's $20,000 a month for that lease. I'm going to need to furnish the entire space. I'm going to need to hire staff. Let's say I just start with 1 person because I don't have any kids yet. How am I going to go hire 10? Where does that come from? Everything starts and comes from marketing. So you need to look at marketing as your secret sauce, your secret weapon. That's going to be the path that's going to help you get out of all the day-to-day. It's going to create the opportunities that create the cash. So 2 things you're going to execute after making that mindset shift. Number 1, you're going to conduct what I call a 360 marketing audit. I want you to literally leave no stone unturned. I want you to look at your website, your social media, flyers, logo, how you answer the phone, business cards, social media presence, follow-up. Look at everything and identify where you have skeletons. Where are the worst things that you know are turning enrollments away? So as you start to get more tours, the math doesn't lie. If you're getting in, let's say, 10 tours during the course of a week, and you close 1 enrollment at a 10% conversion, that math doesn't necessarily lie. 10% conversion is terrible. So is there something that is causing those numbers to be that low? Maybe your Google review is at a 2.5. So what are those things that are the skeletons in the closet? What are those things that are just causing issues that you have not wanted to address? You're like, I know it's there, but I don't really want to address it. Prioritize the list based on the areas that you feel are causing the most friction and start checking them off the list. Now, here's the secret. you most likely are never the right person to be executing things off that list. And the chances are also pretty low that you don't have anyone on your team that is the right person to be doing that. Great book. I've mentioned it several times. It has transformed how I think. And the book is Who Not How. And it's all about speeding things up by hiring the right who's. Who is the right person to get that done rather than trying to figure it out. I've never met an owner of a center that is the right person to be updating the website, modifying social media, getting the site ranking in Google, deploying paid traffic. Like, it rarely happens. Not even rarely, it never happens. They might think that they're the right person, but they're not. So self-serving, I run the parent marketing group. We literally do exactly this for businesses exactly like yours. So craft that list, rank the skeleton, start chipping away at the list. In tandem, I'm looking for you to deploy one tactic, one new strategy that you have not done before. Maybe that's putting some money and some efforts around getting your website ranking higher for preschool near me, as an example. Maybe it's deploying Google ads or Facebook ads. Maybe it's doing videos of all the classrooms so you have a virtual tour. Maybe it's hiring an answering service that can make sure you're not missing calls and then giving them a really great script. Maybe it's taking your tour and having a welcome gift when all the families come and take your tours. Think through and look at what is one of the path of least resistance that you really haven't done before. And I don't want it to be a shotgun approach. You just boom, 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 all over the place. I want one. All that I'm looking for you to do is to improve your mindset that this stuff is an investment. Clean up some of the things that you know are causing friction at your center from a marketing perspective. And number 3, deploy a new tactic so you start to get some more eyeballs. That's it. That starts to then move you in the right direction. That starts to move the marketing. Now, yes, there are a dozen other steps and a dozen other things that you're going to have to deploy from a marketing standpoint, but this allows you to get some momentum. This allows you to get some traction. Because what ends up happening is if you get so far in the weeds on every single thing, you could spend the next 12 months. But I want to see you get some momentum. As you rock into next week's episode about finance, this then is going to move you in the right direction from a marketing perspective. And then you're going to start to see how marketing and finance and the money side is completely intertwined. Get your mindset right, clean those skeletons up, deploy one new tactic. Get more attention to your center. Take some action. And as always, like, share, comment. So grateful to have you here. Tune in next week. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. See ya.